Welcome to This Polymath Life. I'm your host, Margaret McNellis. On this podcast, we talk all things creativity, curiosity, and cosmos. Let's get started. Hello and happy Friday. I'm sorry I didn't drop an episode on Wednesday. I was feeling under the weather and talking that day just wasn't going to help. So here we are. It's Friday, December 12th, 2025. And what I'm thinking about today is the American Revolution. I'm thinking about it because I've been very invested in politics this year and previous years, but especially this year because there's so much going on. And I've been thinking about it also because there are growing concerns around this nativist movement happening in the United States. And I'm thinking about, what does it mean to be an American? A United States American. The Americas are quite extended beyond the United States. I don't want to be selfish in claiming we're the only ones. But there's a lot to think about. And I've been thinking about it also because I've been watching the Ken Burns American Revolution documentary, which so far is excellent. I've got one more episode to go. They're like 2.5 hours long each. So I've been watching them in little bits here and there. I've also recently rewatched Turn, which is all about the Culper Ring during the Revolution. Now, of course, they take a lot of liberties for the sake of the story and for the sake of making a TV show. So I wouldn't go to that for accuracy, but it prompted me to read a lot about it. And there were a lot more people in the Culper Ring than the show lets on, which doesn't surprise me at all. They kind of, conflated some of the people so that they could make the storyline more compelling. I think it's pretty compelling all on its own, though, especially the role of women. And I was thinking last night about how Agent 355, no one is 100% sure if that references a single person. Some people think it references Anna Strong. Some people think it references another woman or women in general. And I have a lot of feelings about this. Like, if it was women in general, were they all lumped under Agent 355, as a way to protect them? Or was it because women weren't seen as, the same level of importance or threat to the enemy as men? Like, I wonder what the reasoning was behind that. And then I wonder about these women, because there are several women who reportedly were part of the Culper Ring or are presumed to have been part of the Culper Ring. So it's really interesting to me that these women who are coming from a society where women are second-class citizens are fighting for this new country where I'm sure they must have been hoping to be more than second-class citizens, but there was nothing in the rhetoric of the time that supported that. So, I think it takes even more bravery and even more hope. And I think it's really amazing. I'm in awe of them and trying to learn more about them. And we don't know a ton about their exact contributions. A lot of people think Anna Strong used her laundry line to signal Woodhull and Brewster, who were other members of the Culper Ring. And I think that's absolutely genius because, all right, like, if it was the job of women to do laundry among 8 million other things, how awesome is it to use your laundry to rebel? I love it so much. And I hope so much that it's true, even though we don't have hard evidence as to whether or not it is. I really hope that she did that because I think it is absolutely awesome. And I think about now, obviously espionage is very different in the 21st century than it was in the 18th. But aside from espionage, I think about the courage it must have taken, especially for women who were not raised to be in that space. Women weren't raised at the time to embody courage. honor for a woman had to do with her sexual purity, not her and her ability to be a mother and take care of her husband and her family and their house. It wasn't about whether or not she was courageous in the face of political upheaval and unrest. And I feel like there were moments throughout Western history where that sort of fell away, and there was a path for women to express courage in these more direct, open ways. And this was one of them. And so the idea of Agent 355 absolutely fascinates me, 100%. And maybe it will inspire a story someday. I know people have written about Agent 355. I believe that there's a YA author who wrote a book or a book series based on it, and I think that's absolutely awesome. I've not read it yet, but I think that's really cool. The reason that this is coming to mind is that I think we're in a time when you can't sit on the fence anymore, and where we can help ourselves decide which side of the fence to be on can come through polymath pursuits. And I think that it's through a curiosity and an interest in studying the past, in studying politics, in studying socioeconomic conditions, in studying gender inequality, among so many other topics that impact our social fabric, that we can decide what matters to us. And especially as a woman, deciding where and when I would want to call forth courage. Now, I'm not about to become a spy. I'm not that good of a liar. I couldn't do it. And I'm not advocating that everybody become spies. I just think that if you were going to be a spy in the revolution, you had to have very strong convictions, right? It wasn't, and I'm not saying that people who fought openly during the revolution did not have strong convictions, but, you know, you can't easily desert from spying, because then you'll have like both sides after you. Like it's a little bit more elevated. So I kind of think about what situations require conviction these days. And one of the things that comes to mind is boycotting, voting with our dollar. That takes conviction. It's a different kind of conviction. If I were to shop one way or another, nobody's going to come hurt me for it. I wouldn't face, in any court of law, I would not face charges of treason for buying or not buying from a particular company, despite what some people in DC might say. And so it's not conviction in like a life or death kind of way, but it does take continued conviction, especially when you're fighting against something like convenience or conditioning, right? I think continuing to show up for each other takes conviction. It takes courage to see each other as equal humans. Takes conviction, takes courage to speak out for people who are persecuted. Takes conviction. It takes courage. And I'm not trying to be like, hey, I'm so courageous. But what I am saying is that through polymath pursuits, through interest in going deep on a topic, I'm able to decide not only which side of the fence I want to be on, but when I want to hop onto the side that I want to be on, when it matters most, how it matters most, and how I will do that. So I just wanted to share this thought with you, because I think we are at a time when, I don't remember where I heard it. It was in one of those two shows. If you sit on the fence, you get impaled. I want to say it might have been Turn. I was not feeling well earlier this week, so I watched a lot of episodes, and it's probably from that show. I couldn't tell you who said it. But I'm also interested in how moments like that from history, and when I say moments, I mean years, because the revolution was not just a single moment, but how those moments provided change not only for the people living here, whether that change was good or bad, but it also provided opportunities for personal change. That's like part of the whole premise of the Hamilton musical, right? Like he wants to join the revolution so that he can up his, climb the social ladder, the socio-political ladder when it's over. So it strikes me as interesting because a lot of people are saying on the internet, I don't have exact sources, and I agree that we're headed for the possibility of another Renaissance. And I really do think that can come out of times of revolution. And I think we're currently in a time of revolution, of deciding, not so much if we're going to go to battle, but what our identity as a people is. And that was decided during the American Revolution, but it was decided by a very small demographic of white male landowners. And we have an opportunity to decide that again, of who we are, of who we want to be, and of how we want to get there. So those are my polymath thoughts for the end of this week. I will be back next week. If you have not watched those shows, I recommend them both. They really are well done. But just keep in mind, Turn takes a lot of historical liberties. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of This Polymath Life with your host, Margaret McNellis. I'm delighted to have had you here with me. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, share, and review. Please feel free to leave comments. I can't wait to hear from you so that we can continue to make this a discussion you can't wait to be a part of.